Hey guys, it's Jessica and welcome back to the Sugar Crystal Kitchen. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make my homemade salted caramel eclairs, a twist on the traditional eclairs with some salted caramel pastry cream. Although it does take time and effort to make these, it is definitely worth it, so let's get right into the recipe. So to begin, we'll start by making the salted caramel pastry cream. So into a pot, combine 1 cup of whole milk and 1/4 cup of salted caramel. I'm using my homemade caramel sauce here. I will link that in the description box below. And also add in some vanilla, and over medium-high heat, stir this together and bring it to a simmer. Now while you wait for your milk mixture to come to a simmer, in a separate bowl whisk together 3 egg yolks and 1/4 cup of granulated sugar until pale. And then once it's all nice and pale and thick, add in 1½ tablespoons of cornstarch and 1½ tablespoons of flour and stir those in, and these will act as your thickening agents for your pastry cream. Now check on your milk mixture, and once you see tiny bubbles forming around the rim, you know it's simmering, so take it off of the heat, and while stirring your egg yolks, slowly pour in the hot mixture, and you're just tempering your eggs and making sure that nothing gets scrambled while you mix in your hot mixture. And once all of your mixture is stirred through, transfer it back into your pot and place it back onto the stove. Now once again, over medium-high heat, continuously stir your pastry cream mixture until it reaches a very thick stage, and once it looks something like this, take it off of the heat and transfer it into a heat-proof glass container. Once you've transferred all of your pastry cream into the glass container, when you wrap it with plastic wrap, make sure that the plastic wrap touches the surface of the cream so that it ensures that no film will form on the cream while it's cooling. And then pop this into the fridge and let it stay in there for at least 1 to 2 hours, or best overnight. Now let's move on to making the pate choux, which is the basic eclair cream puff dough. So into a sauce pot, combine 1/4 cup of water, 1/4 cup of whole milk, a teaspoon of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and half a stick of butter, and over medium-high heat, stir this mixture until it reaches a boil. Once it reaches a boil, turn off the heat and take the pot off the stove and stir in 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour until it starts forming a dough ball and all the flour is absorbed. Then return it back to the heat and continue stirring over medium-high heat until you see a thin film forming at the bottom of the pot and the dough begins peeling away from the edges of the pot. Then you know that your dough is ready. Now first we have to cool down the dough, so I placed it into a stand mixer with a whisk attachment and began stirring it, and meanwhile I whisked together 2 eggs. You will need about 2 to 3. I used about 2½, so beat these together and we will slowly begin adding it into our dough mixture once it's cooled. So slowly stream in about half of the mixture, and once it's fully incorporated, keep on doing this a little bit at a time, and once it looks like it's reaching the final stages, you can mix it by hand to make sure you don't make the mixture too runny. At this point, I decided to switch over from my stand mixer to hand mixing it, and you know that your pate choux batter is ready once you drop the mixture from your spatula and it forms a perfect V shape. Now all I'm doing here is transferring my pate choux batter into a pastry bag fitted with a large French tip. Now to pipe my eclairs, I piped them about 3 inches long on a silicone baking sheet to prevent them from sticking, and I piped them gently by squeezing and releasing at the end. Now I'm just sprinkling my eclairs with some powdered sugar, and this will just help it to puff up and bake more evenly when I place them into the oven. So now you just want to bake these off at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 minutes and then turn the heat down to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for another 30 minutes. Then place them onto a cooling rack and let them cool completely before we fill them. And once our eclairs have completely cooled, we can now fill them. So taking a nozzle, I'm just poking 2 holes at the ends of my eclairs, and I placed the pastry cream we made earlier into a piping bag fitted with a round tip, and now I'm just piping the caramel pastry cream into the eclairs until I feel that the eclair is full of cream and I can see some of that pop out when I'm squeezing. So continue to do this with all of your eclairs until you've finished filling them all up. And here I'm just dipping my eclairs in some caramelized white chocolate ganache, and if you guys are interested in how I made this, I'm sorry I didn't film it, but I can leave that in the description box below. But of course you guys can also dip this in white chocolate or milk chocolate or whatever you please, and that is it for how to make these caramel eclairs. They are so unique and the flavor is just amazing and it's so different from the traditional eclair. I hope you guys definitely give these a try, and I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video, and as always don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe if you all did, and thanks for watching. I will see you all next time. Bye guys!